They say this story is fictional, a piece of internet horror designed to scare bored readers. But some stories refuse to stay buried, no matter how often they're labeled as fake. In the late 1940s, at the height of Cold War paranoia, the Soviet Union authorized a classified project disguised as a sleep deprivation study. No official name was ever released. The files contained only numbers, blacked-out sections, and red warning stamps marked "Not for civilian knowledge." 5 prisoners were selected: political dissidents, violent offenders, people no one would miss. They were promised freedom, real freedom, if they could remain awake for 30 consecutive days. The chamber was carefully designed. No beds, no clocks, no shadows. The lights stayed on at all times. A sealed ventilation system pumped a colorless, odorless gas into the room. Officials claimed it was merely a stimulant. Unofficial notes suggest something far worse. The first 3 days passed without incident. The subjects spoke casually, shared memories, joked about what they'd do when released. By the 4th day, conversations became disorganized. Sentences trailed off. Long silences replaced laughter. On the 6th day, one of them began screaming. It wasn't a cry for help. It was a sound of recognition, as if he had noticed something that had always been there. He screamed for hours. The others did nothing. No attempt to stop him. No visible concern. Eventually, his voice failed. His mouth continued moving, but no sound came out. By the 9th day, silence consumed the chamber. The researchers assumed the microphones had malfunctioned. They checked the equipment. Everything worked. One soldier approached the reinforced glass and looked inside. Later, he would say, the worst part wasn't what he saw, but the feeling that whatever was inside was aware of being watched. The subjects hadn't slept. Their eyes were wide open, unblinking. Their skin had turned grayish-white. Their expressions were frozen, distorted. They were staring at something invisible. On the 10th day, the researchers spoke through the intercom, asking if anyone was still alive. The response came immediately. All 5 voices spoke at once. "We no longer want to be free." That sentence marked the end of official documentation. What follows comes from leaked files, destroyed archives, and testimonies that were later discredited or erased. According to these sources, the gas did more than prevent sleep. It removed the brain's natural barrier, the mechanism that suppresses intrusive thoughts, hallucinations, and primal instincts. Without sleep, the mind began to perceive things it was never meant to perceive. The subject reportedly stopped recognizing their own bodies. Self-inflicted injuries appeared, not from pain, but from curiosity. At some point, they began consuming each other, not out of hunger, but as if trying to silence something inside themselves. This is where the conspiracy deepens. Some believe the experiment was not about endurance, but exposure. Soviet scientists theorized that prolonged wakefulness allowed the human mind to access a parallel state of awareness, one that overlaps with something ancient and observant. In fragmented notes, a single term appears repeatedly: the watcher. Descriptions vary, but the theme is consistent: a presence felt, not seen, always observing, always patient. The subjects allegedly spoke to it, or were spoken to. On the 15th day, the chamber was opened. 4 bodies lay motionless. What remained barely resembled human beings. One subject was still alive. Doctors asked him why they had done this to themselves, why they hadn't begged to be released. The survivor smiled, or what could still be called a smile, and whispered, "We didn't stay awake to survive. We stayed awake to see what watches you when you close your eyes." He died seconds later. Officially, the experiment was terminated. All files sealed. All witnesses silenced. Unofficially, many believe it never truly ended. Modern reports of extreme insomnia describe eerily similar symptoms. After 3 or 4 days, whispers. After 5, shadows that move when not observed directly. After 7, the feeling of being watched. Perhaps sleep is not rest. Perhaps it is a defense mechanism. Because if the human mind stays awake long enough, something else begins to notice, and it never stops watching.